Hello, ladies and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Ugwumba Leadership Show. My name is Remy Chukwumere. We're broadcasting live from the Ugwumba Center for Leadership Development in Africa, our head office here in Abuja, the FCT. I can see our guest is ready. You're welcome, Mona Onuzo, the accountability queen. You're welcome to the show. You're welcome to the show. It's very good. So this is how we get started. Today is the 2020 International Youth Day celebration around the world. And as a center that is committed to raising young people, young leaders, young entrepreneurs from the African continent, we are glad to be part of this international event. To mark this year's event, we started very early. We started since the beginning of August, and that was why on the leadership show we brought to you a number of discussions that centered on youth engagement for global actions. We started with what we called youth participation in politics and in governance, which captures exactly the theme for this year's celebration. And we had our president, Ugwumba on the show to speak to young people about how to participate actively in youth, in politics and in governance. And I bet you it made a tremendous impact in the life of Nigerian youth. And that was why the feedback we get keep coming, and they are very positive in the lives of Nigerian youth. And following after that, we also talked about how to stop the blame game, since everyone is a leader. And we brought to you an emotional intelligence expert, Amanda Obidike, who also came and did justice to that topic. Because unfortunately, young people here in the country, they blame others for their failures, especially the government. So today we are going to talk about what we call personal accountability. We want to talk about personal accountability, which is the next that should have come immediately after the stop the blame game. So we are in the right direction. We want to bring we want to let your people know how to become accountable to themselves. You don't need to blame anybody when you fail. You need to be able to take actions, take credit for or blame yourself if you fail, and not the government or not your parents and the other people around you. So that is why we are going to discuss personal accountability in leadership today as part of the events that we have scheduled to celebrate the 2020 International Youth Day celebration. And joining us in the studio to discuss this theme is an accountability queen, and she is the CEO of Gazelle Academy, a wonderful social enterprise that is changing the ways young ladies and women, run their lives, especially those that are interested in entrepreneurship and self-development. Thank God I've been there with her before to speak for her, and I saw live exactly what she is doing around the country. I saw the young ladies that were impacted with her programs in faraway Anambra State. And I know she has taken that to Kano, she has taken that to Lagos and in several other cities of the country. And she is a perfect person to talk about the personal accountability in leadership today, which is the theme of our celebration. As part of our own way of celebrating the International Youth Day. So join me as we welcome Mona Onuzo, the accountability queen, to the show.
Hello,
Mona, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm most grateful to be invited to speak on this platform. It's always a joy when I get the opportunity to speak to young people and also those that are upwardly mobile, and especially on a topic that I love so much, being personal accountability in leadership. This is a topic after my heart, because if you don't learn how to master yourself, according to Epictetus, you won't be able to master the world. So the first lesson of leadership is leading yourself, self-leadership, self-discipline, and self-accountability, because you can only give what you know. If you don't know anything, you give rubbish. That is garbage in, garbage out. So personal accountability is key for me. It's very important in everything that we do in life. Remy, you didn't tell me what our audience, what they're doing, where they are, and all of that. To be able to relate some of the examples, to them and what their interest is. But however, if I know what they're doing, what they're interested.
Don't worry about that. We have viewership from across the world.
Fantastic. So I would take personal leadership as
they are young people. Our target is young people, young Nigerians who we want to prepare for the leadership that awaits in the future.
Fantastic. So let's get right into it. When you talk about accountability, we need to understand what accountability.
So, can you tell us exactly what is personal accountability? What is it all about?
Exactly. It is about being responsible for your actions. It's about being responsible. That's what it is. Owning up to your actions and agreeing that this is what I want to do. And you show up when you're supposed to show up. That is personal accountability. That is what it means in a nutshell, in as simple layman's term as possible. That is what accountability or personal accountability means for me as an individual. Basically, for various people, it means several things. But for me, it means being able to show up and deliver on the tasks that I've agreed to do, being responsible and being responsibility over any activity that I have been, or office that I've been assigned to do. That's what it is. Being responsible. That is one word I always like to attribute to accountability. Responsibility. Okay? Are you there, Remy? Hello?
Okay. It sounds like a new. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Remy.
Okay. It sounds like a new concept. It sounds like a new concept. Okay, very good. Okay. This personal accountability thing sounds like a new concept in leadership. I don't know. So how can one become accountable to himself or herself?
Okay, right. So you have responsibility to your actions, and then responsibilities to your followers, and then responsibilities.
Did you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me, Remy? I'm hearing you loud and clear. So I'm saying there are three things you have to note when you're being personally.
Yes.
Okay. It's not a new term.
Okay,
it's not a new term, right? It's not a new term. When you hear people say own up to what you've done, what they're asking you to do is take responsibility. What they're asking you to do is be accountable. Own up to what you have done. Don't hide.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a new thing. However, the main thing is people don't, our leadership today, they don't pay much attention to it. They don't, they are not accountable to their actions. That's why we have a lot of corruption in the system, right? When you are being accountable, personal account, you are accountable, you're responsible for yourself, you're responsible for others, and then you are responsible for your team, the actions of your team. It's important because being accountable is being responsible for your actions as a leader.
Okay.
Do you understand? As a leader of yourself and a group, and not blame any shortcomings on people or situation. It's very important that we understand that you don't blame anybody. You don't pass the blame game up and down. You say, I did this and I am at fault and I own up to it. So even if it's your team that did it, you stand in for them. It means that even when you fail to do the right things or to lead your team, society, or any group, to the desired goal that you have already agreed to, that you don't blame anybody and the environment, but that you take responsibility for your failure and the work on averting future failures. This is very important because if you can own up to what you have done wrong, it's easy for you to learn from it and then not repeat the same action going forward. Now, that's responsibility for your own action, taking responsibility of being accountable for your own action. Now, there's also another element to it, which is being accountable for your followers. As we are as leaders, we have people that follow us, and we are inadvertently
Yeah.
responsible for their own action because we have become their mentors. So what they're doing is, if Mona can do this and get away with it, that means I too can. So the moment we become leaders, it's no longer about us alone, but about our followers, all right, as well. Being accountable is being responsible for the actions of our followers and accountable to them for trusting us with the power to take the lead on their behalf. Because if we say jump, they jump. They don't ask questions. Look at the Marines, US Marines. They don't ask questions. Our police, they don't ask questions. People that follow, they just follow because you've given the order. And it also depends on the type of leadership that you have or you've instituted within your environment. And let's break it down so people don't think that leadership is all about organizations. Within the context of the home, you have the first daughter, the second daughter, third daughter, first son, second son. Anybody that is the first is automatically a leader. However, there are some home dynamics where you see the middle child being the leader in the home or the last born being the leader, right? So leadership can come in any way. So what we're saying is whoever looks up to you, you have the responsibilities, the onus lies on you to showcase a positive behavior so that whatever they are emulating becomes something that has a ripple effect to impact society. Why are we a corrupt society, or why are we perceived as a corrupt society? It's because the people we look up to, some of the people we look up to, some of the people that are in governance today have not left a good precedence for us to follow. So we, the followers, are saying, well, if Okiki can get away, it's okay for me to do it. So there's no rule of law because you've seen you can't do as I say and not as I do. If I tell people now, put your hand on your cheek, and I do like this, guess what? 90% of the people in the room will put their hands on their chin, not their cheek. But I said, put your hand on your cheek, but my hand is on my chin. Everybody will follow me. If this were a live class and I did this exercise, you find that everybody is following what I'm doing. They're not listening to what I'm saying. Because what I'm saying says, put your hand on your cheek. That is why we must be, are you there? That is why we must be personally responsible for our followers. It's key. It's very important. If any member of our team commits a crime, we must not wash our hands off him. That's what we're seeing in organizations. You find, they're trying to seek their skin and they're letting their team become afraid. They fall for everything, and they are the ones that take the fall for the issue that happens in the office. But we must take responsibility for our collective crime. If a team member is the one that committed the crime, all of us, I as the team head, must say, I am responsible for this person. For instance, let me give you an example. In my organization, at some point, I kept on firing people, right? I kept on firing people. And for me, it was just and on that on a troubling situation for me. Because I was like, why am I always firing people year in, year out? First year, second year, third year, I'm firing people, and that was a huge problem for me. One day, after 3 years, I would employ you today in a month, they are gone. In 2, 3 months, they are gone. I'll say you are not efficient, you are not giving me what I want. At the end of the day, I had to ask myself very difficult questions. And that is what everyone on this platform must ask themselves. Who is the constant in this? I asked myself that. Year one, year two, year three, you fired almost 10, 15 people. Who is the one that is a constant that does not change? And I found out that the only constant in this was myself. And because I was the constant in this, I realized that, look, Mona, you are the problem. You are the person that is the issue in this equation, not the people that you are employing. Here's what I did. To be personally accountable, when I fired myself from my business. That is what accountability is. That is what taking responsibility is. I realized that I wasn't doing any good to my business as the CEO, as the MD. I wasn't doing any good, I wasn't adding any value. I had stopped learning, and the people that came, because we were not communicating, because I had this thing in my head that I was expecting them to do. But at the end of the day, it was unrealistic. So we were always at loggerheads and they had to leave. So when I fired myself from my business, I went back to learn the things I didn't know. And then I handed my business to a chief operating officer who understood the business and who could drive it to the next level. I went back to school. And after 6 to 8 months of studying in entrepreneurship in my entrepreneurship class at the Entrepreneurship Development Center, EGC, Pan Atlantic University, after doing that, I went back to my business. Are you there?
Oh, so sorry about the break in transmission. So sorry about that. I don't know. So sorry. So Mona, you were talking about how one can become accountable to him or herself. So let's go away from that. Let's go to why is personal accountability very, very important in leadership? I know you must have mentioned something close to that, but since we lost our transmission, let's go back to it. Why is it important in leadership? Are you getting it? And then how can citizens, ordinary citizens, hold their leaders to become accountable?
Fantastic. Accountability in leadership involves leaders being accountable for his or her own action while he discharges his role, right, in the office. And also to those that he is leading
Okay.
with the state of mind that understands that he is responsible for what happens in the course of his leadership and owns those that appointed him to account for his lead stewardship, right? So it's very important because in leadership, you have been um, employed,
Okay.
elected, appointed to steer a particular community, a particular ministry, a particular state, a particular organization, a particular team into the a path or the goal to achieve the global goal of the state, of the nation, of the organization, of the family, right? So it's important that you stay accountable. Though it's a state of mind. he must be responsible for what happens in the course of his leadership. It's very important. No leader is
Okay.
appointed for his own personal interest alone. That is a fact that must be noted. And leadership is thrust on people as a means of creating a better society. So that society is made up of people who need your capacity to help them get to a particular destination. So if, for instance, Nigeria, the time that we said Nigeria, great people, great nation, it needed the Minister of Communication who understood the state of the nation. I think it was the late Madam Barakunile at the time, who understood the state of the nation, who understood that my mandate is to ensure the positive image of the nation seen by the other international community. So it was important that they perceive Nigeria as a great nation with great people, because at that time we had a lot of negative publicity. So she came up with this campaign that went like this: great people, great nation. And everybody keyed into that campaign. Great people, great nation. It was such a positive campaign that helped us believe in ourselves and start seeing positive things about our nation. That is what leadership is. Leadership is also being accountable financially. Leadership is not just for you, like I earlier said. It's meant for stewardship, accountability in the little things, in the contracts that you give. In the you can't be a leader and you're giving contract awarding contracts only to yourself through a proxy. That is not being accountable. Look at what is happening with NCDC today. Sorry, not NCDC, NDDC today, and all the other parastatals and agencies that are being pushed by government, right? So it's important that we remember that as a leader, that we must be accountable not just to ourselves, but to everybody around us, and to ensure that we discharge our duties effectively. Accountability is a means of giving account of one's activity while one holds a leadership position. Therefore, personal accountability
Mm.
is key to getting the results of leadership that we want through accurate and accountable stewardship. So I don't know if I'm able to answer your question.
Okay.
So also
Okay,
I
good,
can
good, very
also
well. Now they follow up as ordinary citizens.
yes.
Okay, I said the follow-up question is, as ordinary citizens, how can we hold our leaders accountable?
Fantastic. So as a nation, there was something that
Did you
I
get
saw.
that?
A Yes, I did.
Okay.
There was something I saw that they posted on social media, and that was votes for Big Brother Niger was about 700 something million, if I'm correct, or 70 something million, or something like that. And
Okay.
then votes
Okay.
for the 2019 election was like 7 million, right? So I'm not sure I'm getting my figures right, but it's just to show you the huge gap between the two. Big Brother Niger viewership almost 700 something million. I'm just throwing the numbers out. Those are not the accurate numbers, but what I want you to see the gap between the numbers, right? So when they're talking about maybe there's the
Mm.
news or something going on, you have maybe 7 people or 70 people tuned in to watch it. So what that means is where the heart of a nation is where their interest and what their action lies. If as a nation we're not interested in accountable leadership, it's difficult to have call people to account. It's very difficult.
Mm.
If our interest lies in entertainment, you find people talking, using their data to vote, using their data to put their money to buy DSTV, to put Big Brother Niger constantly. You come to lounges, you come to schools waiting to pick your children, you come to the salon. Wherever there's a social gathering or people, one or two people meet, what is the topic of discourse? They're discussing Big Brother. Nobody's discussing how we can move our country forward, and nobody's taking it up. So that's number one. The interest of the nation, of the society, is one. If they're not interested in holding leaders accountable, they cannot hold the leaders accountable. Two, what is the precedence that has been shown for people who stood up to
Yeah.
speak? What has happened to them? If it's a militant and dictatorial society, that when you speak out, you find yourself incarcerated, like what happened to Showore, that's his name, Showore, right? You understand? So, I mean, if you find that you speak out, and instead of the society to call you to the
Okay.
negotiating table to sit to find out exactly what the thing is, or to probe further into the fact and to set up a committee that will probe into the matter and get to the end of it. What do? They incarcerate the leader um, of the accountability group who is holding whoever, whichever leader accountable. We find that when people see that, they won't be interested in holding their
Okay.
leaders accountable. However, outside all these negative outcomes of leadership, of people who speak out against unaccountable leadership, my advice would be in your own sphere of existence. He says it takes a drop to fill up an ocean. In your own sphere of existence, in your own area of control, where you have leadership, how accountable are you? Currently, I'm running a 14 days challenge. Today is day 6 of that challenge, and I have about 24 people signed up on that challenge. And I'm asking them simple questions. The things that you have said that you, as an individual, want to do. Why are you letting procrastination? Why are you letting laziness? Why are you letting lethargy get in your way? Why are you doing this to yourself? Because if you can't even hold yourself personally accountable, how can you hold your leader accountable? You know what I said? Garbage in, garbage out. We have a lot of armchair champions, people that are always castigating
Okay.
government, people that are always talking bad about government. What have you done? What if I come into your life now to probe? Personally, how have you been accountable in your own sphere of existence, of influence? How have you been accountable there? It's like the pot calling kettle black. The most important thing is us as individuals to take care of our immediate community, starting from
Uh-huh.
our home. These leaders that we are talking about, they came from a home. They came from a home. So when I'm teaching personal accountability, I speak to the parents, especially the new parents who are coming up with the next
Mm-hmm.
generation of leaders. We might not be able to do anything about the leaders that are already established and set in their ways, right? We can only pray for them and then adjudicate and hope that by the time that we make some of these thank God for social media is throwing up a lot of issues, which thankfully government is also paying attention to after sieving through to find the one that is
Okay.
actually
Yes.
exactly, that has basis. They've been able to tackle one or two issues that came up on social media, right? So through that means we can hold our leaders accountable. However, we can start today to start grooming the next set of leaders by holding them personally accountable within the home. We must stop this discrimination between a male child and a female child. It all starts from the classical conditioning because we like to take leadership up in the air. But what Mona likes to do is to bring leadership down to the bottom, to the ground, down to earth. Bring it home because it's the grooming that you have given a child that he goes out into the public to exhibit. So if we are
Mm.
able to train our siblings, caution our children, and teach them the right way to the Bible says, train up a child in the way he should go. And when he is old, he will not depart
Yeah.
from it. If
You
we're
not depart from
able,
it. That's
yes,
true.
so if we're able to teach our male child respect for the female child, if we're able to teach the female child respect for the male child, he will have a society respects a position of authority and will not abuse it. Because as leaders within their own home, it will not be tolerated. A father cannot abuse his role as the father in the home. A mother cannot abuse their home. There's mutual respect for the child, for the adults in the home. This is where it starts from the classical conditioning of the child and the home. That is where leadership starts from. It's not when you get into office. When you get into office, you're only practicing what you learned from home. If you have an abusive family,
Good,
abusive
good,
parents, good. As a leader, you'll be abusive. If you had parents that were inclusive, right, that led through coaching, you know, you'll find that when you become a leader, you dialogue more with your people to understand how they feel about issues, right? In my own organization, I've never called my staff employees. They are not my employees, they're my partners in progress. So I call them my colleagues. They are my colleagues because their effort is also what is pushing the company forward. And I make sure I commensurate that in
oh, that's
every
true.
other, both financially and in support. And that is what a leader is supposed to do. A holistic leader has to be able to touch the 360-degree point of human existence. People that are working for you are not robots. They are people with human needs. So being accountable to them is also being accountable to their personal values and goals and growth path. So it's not just about that particular position or the global goal of the organization. I love Shell because they have this coaching thing that they pair you with a mentor within the organization who helps you and guides you through your career path and holds you accountable to make sure that you fulfill your goals. So you find that there are different aspects of leadership that we must touch on. You have, like I mentioned, leadership to your team. You must understand their personal growth. That way, there's something in appraisals. You appraise up and you appraise down, right? What that means is that appraisals should not only be up down, meaning the manager appraising the supervisors and the junior staff. The junior staff should also be able to appraise the manager. That is how you keep leadership possible. Because, yes, because if you don't do that, what happens is that your growth in the organization is at the whim of the leader, of the manager. And that is a skewed environment, which you don't want. So you must create this room where the leaders can also be held accountable by the subordinates. So what you find, when I was working for an organization recently, I had my colleagues. I call them. I don't like calling anybody subordinates or I feel the words I use and it puts you at the level and your thinking becomes like that. If I call you a subordinate, you always look at me like I know everything. So everybody's my colleague. Like we're all peers. Let's discuss. We're all in this together to move this organization forward. So I would always, when I'm appraising her, I would tell her, you need to appraise me too. And she'd be like, why do I need to appraise you? I said, yes, because I want to know what I'm doing right and what I'm doing wrong. She always found it fascinating that I would get her to do that. But guess what? It kept me accountable as a manager, as a director in that organization. So I never strayed too far
Okay,
from my goal. Because when I started, they would pull me back into it. So that's one way of keeping your leaders accountable. Yes, Remy,
okay,
I'm here.
okay. Now, today is the International Youth Day, and
Fantastic.
a number of things are expected of young people around the world. So, for Nigerian youths, what do you think are the three major roles that they need to play, in the development of this country, Nigeria?
Great. I am a Nigerian youth. I started off
Mhm.
even decades younger than I am now to impact my society. First thing you need to do is to become personally responsible. I don't want to use the word accountable again. I want to use a word that the Nigerian youth would understand. I've worked with many Nigerian youth, as Remy said. I've trained over 2,000 Nigerian youths. I've mentored over 100 of them personally. I'm currently mentoring, like I said, a group of about 24 to 30, 24 in a group, and others that I'm mentoring one on one, and I'm helping to become more personally accountable. Look, if you can become personally accountable, that is, let me break it down again. Start and finish whatever it is that you want to do. This is very important. Start and finish, no matter what the task is. Cultivate that discipline to start and finish. You must love the process. That second is you must love the process that leads to success. The Nigerian youth today wants to be successful. We all want to live a better life, a beautiful life. However, you must commit to working towards that goal. Commitment to working towards that goal is what will get you to your destination, is what will get you to succeed. That is the truth. Okay? So become personally accountable. And when you become personally accountable and you commit to meeting your goals, you find that accountability helps you to meet accountability responsibility helps you to meet those goals. And then identify what you want. There's so many people that don't know what they want. They just follow the bandwagon. As a child, I knew what I wanted. I knew who I was. I mean, from age 12, 13, 14, I already knew my path. In secondary school, if you ask about me, I went to Federal Government Girls College Award. In secondary school, I was made a prefect without even campaigning to become a prefect. That shows that I was already carrying myself and exhibiting leadership qualities for me to be selected without campaigning. For one day, as a copper, I was selected to carry the flag to lead 1,400 people on the endurance strike. I never campaigned for it for one day. When it was time to select who they wanted, they called us out by 5 a.m. I went to stand behind my boys. I always have my boys. They were all very tall. Or to me, then they were all very tall. The soldiers came with torchlight. It was dark, 5 a.m., to look for me in my own platoon. And when they saw me, they handed the NYC flag to me. And they said, Mona, out of 1,400 people, we have seen you to exhibit the leadership quality that is required for this particular role. And next thing they told me was, pick the person that you can work with that will enable you to finish, which is very important. Who are those in your circle? Those in your circle will either elevate you or bring you down. So it was clear that I needed somebody that when I was getting tired, he would say, Nina, let's do this. And I selected Muhammad, who was my partner. He carried the Nigerian flag and I carried the NYC flag. And we walked from Iyanakwaja to Ota and back. I became a celebrity overnight in camp because it was such a fun thing. So you need to understand who you are very early on. Understand who you are and what you want. And start executing those qualities. People are watching. People will see you and they will recommend you. So don't run after success. Run after value, giving value. Run after giving value in everything that you do. Run after being responsible in everything that you're doing. Run after finishing tasks that you started. These are the things that will lead you to that position that you want to know. When I became the essay to the minister, and my aim was, what is my mandate? What do I need to do? I didn't become the technical advisor to him overnight. No, it took about 6 months before my fellow colleagues said, Mona, you have a technical advisor in this case. Why? Because I exhibited the attitude, the attributes, the intellectual capacity to be able to deliver on that role. I was just an essay. So you need to understand who you are. You need to become personally accountable. And then you need to know what you want out of life. by exhibiting the qualities that you want your leaders to have. That way, you can become a leader that is worthy of note tomorrow. Remy, are you there?
Thank you so much. Um, Thank you so much. The discussion is progressing. Um, yeah, good. The discussion is progressing as we expect, and we want to talk about. Let's take personal accountability to the workplace. Let's take it to the workplace. Apart from personal accountability in leadership, now how can one become accountable in his or her workplace? How can one show accountability in his or her workplace? Because we want to take care of those that are not in leadership positions so that they also know that they should be accountable to wherever they are working for, and then take responsibilities for every action that they take or decisions that they take in their workplaces. So let's talk about it.
Okay, fantastic, Remy. So this question has two parts. Personal accountability at work comes from, first of all, having defined roles. Most times what you see, people are employed, especially in startups and small to medium enterprises. People are employed without having defined roles. Probably the owner of the business required a particular skill, and they saw somebody and they saw an attribute in that person. They will employ the person and just say, just come and
Did
start
you hear
working.
me?
What did you say? Hello, Remy.
Okay. Sorry. Oh, sorry.
No,
So
that's fine.
I said, let us take the accountability thing to the workplace. Let's take it to the
Yes.
workplace. Usually here in the country, people feel because it's not my business, I just have to work from 9 to 4 or 9 to 5, and at the end of the month, I earn my salary. So what's my business? If I'm making profit or not, I don't get bothered because I know my salary is sure. So how do we take accountability into the workplace?
So I just mentioned that I'm going to take
Did
it
you hear
two
that?
parts. Yes, I did. Yes, yes, yes. So two parts. One part is from the HR person or the owner of the business that employed you, and the second part is for the employee. Let me start from the owner of the business, or let me start from the employees. Why do employees feel unmotivated at work? Why do they not buy into the vision of the organizations? First things first is let's look at the culture of the organization. If there's a toxic culture within the organization, you'll find that people will be unmotivated. All they want to do is just clock in and clock out. Because to them, being in that environment is not doing anything whatsoever for them. They're not growing. They're just there for the salary because it's obvious that the organization just wants them, just wants return on investment and does not really care about how this work affects them as employees. From the employer's point of view, if an employer employs you and does not define your role, chances are that every day you come to work and you don't know what to do. You'll just be looking for what to do. So, to avoid this, to get people to be motivated, is first to define their roles when they come in. By defining their roles, you have to put their KPIs, key performance indicators, and milestone measurements. So every quarter or every day, sometimes or every week, sometimes organizations have this Monday morning meeting. At these Monday morning meetings, it is when they evaluate the work you have done the previous week to understand what you're doing going forward. Now, if you don't have a culture and a system that ensures that each employee the experience when they start working with you, from when they resume to when they close, that there's a structure that demands excellence. If you don't have that structure in place, it becomes difficult for your employees to even understand the direction that the organization is going to. So for employees to be motivated to work for you, there are a lot of things you have to put in place as an organization. You have to have you have to have very good work-life balance in your organizations. Different industries differ in this. So employers who are on this platform must pay key attention to the sort of culture that they are instituting within their organization. Is it a culture that brings people together and makes them feel a part of the system? Or is it a culture that only picks a few to be celebrated? Or is it a culture that just doesn't care? Right? Or are you building a culture that everybody feels like a family? You know, that you do things together, you celebrate together, you have activities, social activities where you celebrate. I used to work for an organization that before we launch anything outside, we launch it internally first. You know, it was one of the best organizations I've ever worked for at the time. It was a telecoms organization, you know, and we had a fantastic culture. And that taught me a big lesson. For me, whenever I go on my programs with my team, I make sure they stay in one of the best hotels. I make sure they get paid inside their salary. They have their own fee for going on this project. It's not part of their salary. What most people do is, because they are working for me, when you go to activate a project, so I'm talking about my experiential company now, right? So this is how you can get your team, your employees to feel a part of your business and want to be a part of you. So they get paid for any project. If they do 10 projects a month, depending on the budget of that project, minimum they get paid is 40K on that project, minimum. And that's not their salary. So they will get paid 10 times a month for that project, and they still get their salary at the end of the month. They don't stay in anything less than a 3-star or 4-star hotel. I make sure of that, that they are comfortable. And if you're senior management up, you stay in your own room. If you're mid-level management, I ask you, would you like to share, or you want to stay on your own? Yes, I ask. And if you say you want to stay on your own, I bear the cost. Because for me, I need you to be mentally settled to deliver on that cost. And then we provide meals for them. And once a day, they get their buffet where they eat and they eat well. At the end of the day, by the time we close out on the project, we have a party. And if you have a birthday within that project, we have a party for you within that project. So you find that my staff, they become like my family. You know, they don't want to go. Even when they leave me, they're still in our group. You know, even when they see, even when I call them by midnight or 2 a.m., come on, I need you to go and do something. They're not working for me. They're so overjoyed. They're happy to be part of what I'm doing because I've treated them like human beings. So employer must learn how to treat their staff as human beings and understand what their weaknesses, their pain points are, and be there to intervene. Sometimes my staff might have rent issues. I step in and I sort that out for them. Sometimes they have hospital issues. They have their health packages, you know, that the company pays for. But if it doesn't get to that, if the money for that allocated to them is not enough, personally, I dig into my pocket to make sure that that hospital bill is settled. So these are the things that employers must put in place to make sure that their staff will come to work and they want to be a part of it. Sometimes people don't even know when I'm in my business and when I'm not in it. Why? Because my employees, my colleagues at work have got the vision of my organization. They are running with it as if it's their own vision, it's their own company. And that is what is important, to get your employees to feel a part of the business and not just clock in and clock out. The owner of the business, the culture of the business has a lot to play. Then disregard those that don't really care about any of the things. After you've done all of these things, there are still some employees that don't give a hoot. They don't care. Whether you're giving them the best culture, whether you're taking care of them, then the system and the culture, the procedure, the process in the organization should be able to weed out these people. By the time you go through that system, the exit point, you find those that you are promoting, you find those that you are giving a warning, and then you find those you exit out of the business. That is how a structured organization ensures that the people that they employ are people that give value to the organization. That way, you don't have people that don't like what you're doing, people that don't buy your vision. You don't have them in your organization. So that is one way that employers can get that done. Now, for employees, if you are dissatisfied with what you are going through in your business, you have two choices. First choice is you can resign and go. There's no need to be a toxic employee in an organization. You have a choice to resign and leave the environment, or two, you have a choice. You can actually go and sit with your employer and, in a respectful way, share your misgivings. All right, that is, it's possible. There are times when, if it's an organization that has a great culture, they will provide such an enabling environment for you to share. There are some people that will provide this enabling environment, and at the end of the day, they are just there to witch hunt you. Anything you say will be used against you. So you must be careful the sort of culture your organization has, so that you don't fall a victim of that. So what I will tell you is understand your role in a workplace, in the structure of your workplace, all right? Understand your role. It's very important. If you don't understand your role, go to your HR and ask for clarifications. Make sure that before you take on any role in an organization, before you sign that paper, make sure you've had in-depth organization, negotiate properly. People at this point, our young people, they lack the confidence to negotiate their salaries properly, negotiate their hours properly. You know that you want to work 3 times a week. Why did you accept to work 5 times a week? It's okay to negotiate, all right? So that at the end of the day, you can, what you have on your, even negotiate when you'll be promoted. Negotiate it at the beginning. That's what personal leadership is, personal accountability. Know what, it goes back to knowing what you want and who you are. Once you know that, you'll be able to negotiate properly when you're coming into an organization, and to hold the organization accountable. To say, look, when I came in on my contract, this was what was documented. So it's time for my promotion. It's time for my salary increase. You can then have the right to do that. You will understand your place and your role within the structure of the workplace. That way you can give value. Then come to work prepared to discharge your duties. Sometimes some people just come to work and they have this like a basic attitude, like, I don't care. It's not my workplace. It's not my business. So I don't really care. No, if you have agreed to be a part of the people that will ensure that the global bucket of that organization is filled to the brim and even overflowing. You must condition your mind that you are ready to work. If you are not ready to work, the best thing you can do for your employer is to go and have a conversation. If your terms are not met, if the time off that you're asking for is not met, I worked for an organization. I kept on asking for time off. I was saying that, look, before I came into this organization, I was already fatigued. I was already at a point where I was burnt out. So I needed time off before my time off was due. And I was asking for this thing. I wasn't being productive because I was already burnt out. Anything you're saying, I cannot deliver on the job because I am burnt out. And I'm telling you, as my employer, that I'm burnt out. I'm asking you to give me time off to be able to recover mentally, physically, emotionally, so that I can give you value. And you're telling me no. And you're seeing that me telling you that I'm burnt out, you're seeing it as me giving excuses for work. When it was time and I was offered an option, you either resign or you stay at the job, I resigned. I didn't even think about it. I didn't think twice. My health was more important to me. I was having migraines every second of the day. Migraines, I was being unproductive, because I couldn't process. I was in an environment that I just couldn't be productive because of the culture of the environment, because of the unreasonable targets that were set. And when I wanted to have conversations, it was like I was talking to a brick wall. There was already a mindset that, Muna, you cannot perform. Because that mindset was already there, anything else I said was running on water, was like water on stone. At that point, when I was given the choice, you either resign because I needed to go and do a project, and they said you can't go and do that project because it's a personal project. You either resign or you stay, you forfeit your project. I resigned. Because for me, it was not, the work-life balance was not meeting my own personal values, and I left. So if you know who you are and what you want, you will not take things that you don't like. You will not take things that don't meet your personal values. You'll be able to put your options on the table, have a respectful and dignified discussion, and if the discussion is meeting a check in a stalemate, then you have an option to, you have a choice that you need to make at that point. Instead of being
Okay.
a toxic organization, you need to leave the organization. And the third thing I want
Okay.
to ask for
Okay.
results
Okay.
are not
Okay. Oh,
okay. Thank you. There's so much to talk about under this topic. So much to talk about. Remy, are you there? I think I've lost
okay, okay. That's been wonderful. Yeah, that's been wonderful. Let's go for a break. Yeah, yes. Let's just hold on. Let's go for a break. When we come back, we'll now wrap up because our time is up. Let's just go for a break. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Hmm. Oh. Sorry for all the inconveniences and all the technical issues that we're experiencing today. It has been wonderful discussing personal accountability and leadership. Ladies and gentlemen,
I think Remy has dropped off again. Remy, are you there?
okay, sorry, like I said, a number of technical hitches, and don't worry, we'll get better as we move. Okay, so we'll be talking about personal accountability in leadership, and don't forget that we are celebrating the 2020 International Youth Day event, which is a day set aside by the United Nations to celebrate young people across the world. And it's been wonderful talking with the accountability queen, Mona Chisom herself. And by the grace of God, she's been able to do justice to what personal accountability means and why it is important in leadership and also in the workplace. You know, when we talked about leadership, and then we needed to also look at personal accountability in the workplace because here in the country, just like I said before, we have a number of people that do not care whether their employers are making profit or not. They just want their salary every month. You know, so we also looked at that, and she started with talking about, you know, the employer setting targets and responsibilities for the employees, which is a benchmark for what they are expected to achieve every day and every month. That's wonderful. So before we wrap up, I want Mona to talk about. Okay, I think let's have our final word on what is expected of Nigerian leaders and the young people. Just for the final word from you, Mona. Want to have the final word from you about since we have already talked at length about personal accountability. So now the leaders and the young people watching us, I think they now understand clearly what personal accountability is all about. So what is your final word? What is your final word for Nigerian youth and their leaders with respect to being accountable to each other? What is your final word? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Remy. I would say just 4 things. First is to define your vision for your group, for your organization, for your state, for your nation. Define the vision, write it down, make it plain. That's what my Bible said. That way, you will all stay focused on it and not keep not lose sight of what the goal is, keep your eyes on the ball, basically. Second, I would say is develop a game plan for vision actualization. So you define your vision, you create a strategic plan to make sure that that vision is actualized and don't deviate from it. And then galvanize the people around you towards that goal. You must run an inclusive government. Your leadership must be inclusive. You are not an island. You must be a team player while you are leading your people. And finally, keep your eyes on the bottom line, on the return on investment. As a leader, productivity is also part of your responsibility, productivity and profitability of your group, organization, state, or nation. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. Go ahead.
I run a 14 challenge monthly. I run a 14 days accountability and productivity challenge monthly for those who are looking to become more personally accountable. They can get more information on my personal page on Facebook if they want to join the September class coming up.
Okay, good. So, I think I will announce that as soon as we conclude with the discussion. So, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for being with us all through the discussion session. And Mona, we cannot thank you enough from the stable of Ugwumba Center for Leadership Development in Africa. We cannot thank you enough. You've been so awesome. You're so wonderful, and I'm sure that. Those that listened in and people that watch the recording afterwards, they'll be happy, for amazing information that you have released this afternoon, with respect to personal accountability in leadership and then in the workplace. We're so happy, and I'm sure that our leaders, the Nigerian leaders, at every level, they will be also highly, they'll be grateful for this discussion that we have had this afternoon. Thank you so much, and I'm sure that when we call you again, you will come to join us because you are the accountability queen, and we cannot do without you watching over us to make sure that we are accountable for all our actions, especially for those that are in leadership positions. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So this is just one segment of our programs lined up for the International Youth Day. The next one will come up at about 1:30 p.m. So we are featuring young people from across the country who we call Ugwumba Fellows, young people that have benefited from the programs of the Ugwumba Center for Leadership Development in Africa. So they are coming to share with us and the people watching around the world how we have impacted on their lives, how their participation in the programs of Ugwumba Center for Leadership Development has helped them, in improving the ways they run their businesses, and how also the overall impact of our programs, especially the one we call Ugwumba Enterprise Challenge, how it is helping in the job creation and economic development policies of the government of Nigeria. So these are the things that we are going to discuss in the next 30 minutes. So I want to invite all of you, including you, Mona, to join us from 1:30 so that you can listen to young people that have benefited from the center and then see what they are doing. And as the accountability queen, you might also decide to see how you can help them grow better and do their businesses better. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, Nigerians, for watching. God bless you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
God bless you.
you.